Just ahead on CTV News tonight, Governor Wes Moore delivers his State of the State address.
But let's be clear, a change is happening. And today, the state of our state, it is strong.
Plus, faculty and grad students rally once again for collective bargaining rights.
Our university system professors are being denied one of the most basic rights of workers.
And could prisoners getting released early for good behavior be a thing of the past? Those stories and more, next.
Good evening for Wednesday, February 7th. I'm Patricia Vallone with the CTV News Update. Well, declaring that the state of our state is strong, Maryland Governor Wes Moore delivers his second State of the State address in Annapolis today. The governor entered to a cheering House chamber. Moore touted a mixture of accomplishments, challenges, and proposals. His speech centered on what he called the 4 pillars and what his administration is doing to make those things happen. They include increased focus on public safety, and he says that he will address the high number of public safety vacancies. He also announced that Maryland will be the first state to launch a state center for firearms violence prevention and intervention. The governor also plans to make Maryland more affordable, including in housing. He's working to make Maryland the state that serves, and he plans to make it more competitive.
We heard that people want us to make Maryland more competitive. Last year, we got Maryland's economy moving. We secured federal investments in the Frederick Douglass Tunnel Project. We've ensured that the new FBI headquarters will be located in Prince George's County. We have kept the Orioles in Baltimore for decades to come. We've delivered over $1.4 billion to small and minority-owned businesses through the Board of Public Works. We've provided more than 130,000 laptops to underserved households to narrow the digital divide. And we work to accelerate the clean energy transition in every part of our state and not just some.
Moore also announced plans to reshape state government, saying he will issue a state plan that will lay out performance goals for the government and how it'll be tracked. Women lawmakers announced their legislative priorities for the 2024 General Assembly session. The caucus highlighted priorities this morning, including supporting the Equal Rights Amendment, improving the quality of maternal health, and supporting Maryland's military families.
We want to make sure that military spouses, which are usually women, are not discriminated against, that they're given the opportunity to have employment, that they will be given the opportunity to have certification recognized by the state of Maryland, because many of the women are educated, they're nurses, doctors, etc., and yet there's an issue with certification. So we want to make sure that that is addressed.
And Patterson says the Women's Caucus will also focus on eliminating economic and gender discrimination. An investigation into what led up to a Prince George's police officer fatal shooting, a male resident in his home is ongoing. The Maryland Attorney General's office says that Officer Braxton Shelton fatally shot 31-year-old Melvin J. in his own apartment. Shelton was responding to a breaking and entering call at the Wyndham Creek apartment complex on Suitland Road last Thursday. Investigators say 2 handguns were recovered near Jay at the scene. We now know that Shelton was also wearing a police body camera device. The Maryland Attorney General's office will release the police body camera footage in 14 days. And police arrest a man wanted for his involvement in multiple armed robberies in the county late last year. He's been identified as 21-year-old Antoine Gant of Fort Washington. Gant is charged with 3 counts of armed robbery for incidents that took place on November 16th and 21st. He was taken into custody yesterday afternoon after a high-speed chase that started in the 9400 block of Annapolis Road. It ended with Gant crashing into the median guardrail on Route 50 in Landover. He is being held without bond. The surgeons who conducted the world's first pig-to-human heart transplant say they'll be ready to perform a 3rd operation as soon as a suitable patient is found. The 2 surgeries, known as xenotransplantations, took place in 2022 and 2023 at the University of Maryland Medical Center in Baltimore. 67-year-old David Bennett Sr. lived for 2 months, and 58-year-old Lawrence Fawcett survived for nearly 6 weeks. The donor pigs in both cases had been genetically altered to reduce the chances of organ rejection. And coming up, you are watching CTV News, a Maryland bill that could prevent some prisoners from earning credit for good behavior. We'll have that and more after the break.
Children are the greatest joy and our best hope for a better future. Friends, they are the future. But did you know that millions of kids right here in our own backyard are facing hunger every day? Without healthy food, it's harder to grow, to thrive, to feel their best.
The impact when children don't have enough to eat is tremendous because when you're hungry and your basic needs aren't being met, you cannot learn.
Every child deserves to be fed. This is a problem we know how to solve. Food is not just food. It's energy, health, confidence, hope, and even love. Yes, love.
Breakfast in the classroom contributes to kids being more focused, which leads to higher grades, and simply just their well-being.
Thank you!
Learn more about how No Kid Hungry is helping end child hunger in America at helpnokidhungry.org.
Welcome back. Well, for years, workers at higher education facilities across Maryland have been fighting for the right to unionize. It's a right that has existed for decades in K-12 education, and at least 5 states already allow higher education employees to collectively bargain. That's why workers across the state are mobilizing for the same cause.
What do we want? Union! When do we want it? Now!
The academic workforce throughout the university system of Maryland fights for collective bargaining rights outside the State House this morning. It's an ongoing battle employees have been asking for years.
When I was a graduate student, I was standing right here and asking for this very same bill to be passed about 12 years ago.
In 2001, USM staff won collective bargaining rights, but faculty and graduate assistants were denied the same rights.
These are the people who are educating the future workers of our state. These are the people who are doing the research that will save our coastlines, power our economy, and they have no say on the budgets, on the setup, on the governance of their universities, and we think they deserve a voice.
In 2021, full and part-time faculty at Maryland's community colleges obtained CB rights, but faculty and grads in 4-year public colleges were again excluded. This year, supporters say they're hoping bills cross-filed in both chambers make it out of their respective committees and move forward for a vote.
It's past time for the professors at the University of Maryland and the rest of the faculty to be able to have collective bargaining rights.
No one concerned with the proper education of their youth should tolerate a condition in which those teaching and supporting that education are not fully protected as a class of labor.
I would like to have an actual mechanism to enforce contracts to ensure that graduate students like myself are treated fairly or not abused by administration and professors.
If one of the measures passes and is signed by the governor, it would allow full and part-time faculty, postdoctoral fellows, and graduate assistants to each decide separately whether to form bargaining units. And SB 823 is sponsored by Senator Ben Cramer. Delegate Linda Foley has cross-filed a companion bill in the House. And legislation in the Maryland General Assembly looks to block someone who is serving a prison sentence for a violent sexual offense from earning good time credits. House Bill 301 would prohibit someone incarcerated for first-degree rape or sexual offenses from being allowed to receive diminution credits. Now, these credits would ultimately reduce the person's prison sentence. If the law is passed, someone incarcerated for these types of crimes could only get released by the Maryland Parole Commission. Prince George's State's Attorney Aisha Braveboy, who testified on the measure yesterday, is in favor of the bill.
When we look at rape and the rapists generally, these are individuals who are oftentimes violent. They have this need to be in control and to dominate others. And they're more likely than other types of criminals or individuals who are convicted of crimes. They're more likely to reoffend.
And the bill is named after Papa Marie LaPere, a Baltimore woman who was murdered by Jason Billingsley last year. According to reports, Billingsley was originally convicted of a sex offense back in 2013 for a separate incident. He was released early after serving 7 years of a 30-year prison sentence due to the good credits that he earned. What is 25 years behind bars for a Maryland woman who plotted the death of her teenage brother. Leandra Matthews of Accokeek was found guilty last August of second-degree murder in the death of her brother, 17-year-old Christian Matthews. According to prosecutors, Leandra orchestrated the plan. She drove her boyfriend, 26-year-old Tyshawn Lipford, and another man, Daniel Howard, to and from the family Silver Spring home in March of 2017. Lipford strangled the teen as he slept and was convicted of second-degree murder. Leandra's twin sister, LaMay, pleaded guilty to accessory after the fact and is awaiting sentencing pending the conclusion of Howard's murder trial later this year. A man is dead after a fatal pedestrian collision on 55th Avenue and Landover Road last night. Officers arrived around 7:30 and discovered an adult male in the roadway. The male was pronounced dead on the scene. The driver remained on the scene. Investigators are attempting to determine the cause of the collision. Anyone with information is asked to contact Crime Solvers at 1-866-411-TIPS. And a man is charged with multiple counts of indecent exposure at the University of Maryland. The suspect has been identified as 36-year-old Ryan Cibula. According to campus police, a female student reported that she saw a man expose himself inside a white van near Elkton Hall on February 1st. An investigation reveals that Cibula was involved in 2 separate indecent exposure incidents on January 24th. He was ultimately arrested on 3 counts of indecent exposure. Former Baltimore City prosecutor Marilyn Mosby is found guilty by a federal jury on 1 count of mortgage fraud and acquitted on other similar charges. Evidence shows that Mosby made a false statement in an application for a mortgage to purchase a condominium in Florida during her term as Baltimore City State's attorney. In the statement, Mosby claimed to receive a monetary gift from her husband that would be applied toward the purchase to get a lower interest rate. However, the money was actually transferred from her account to his and then later transferred back into her account. She faces a maximum of up to 30 years in federal prison. Mosby was previously convicted on 2 counts of perjury back in November. A sentencing date has not yet been scheduled in either case. Well, wouldn't it be amazing to see your artwork moving throughout the DMV? Well, here is your chance. In honor of Earth Day, the Metro Art in Transit program is inviting students in kindergarten through 6th grade to create a design that highlights the role that public transportation plays in creating a sustainable and healthy environment. Committee members will select 5 artworks, which will be displayed on select Metro buses. The deadline to submit your entry is February 29th, 2024, and for more information, visit wamata.org. It's Wednesday, and you know what that means. It's our time for Pet of the Week. Meet Cashmere, or Cash for short. It is a 1-year-old American Bulldog mix. Cash has been at the shelter since December. Animal management says that he gets along well with other dogs and people and would be perfect in any home looking for their forever pet.
Very people-oriented and very treat-motivated, so he will be easy, very, very easy to train. He needs a little bit of leash training, as you guys can see, and then he also does need to learn not to jump on people. He kind of like jumps on people as like a greeting kind of thing, which could be off-putting to some parents with smaller children, but very, very trainable.
And if you'd like to adopt Cash or any of his furry friends, you can call 301-780-7200. Coming up next on CTV News, Walter Kirkland from the 100 Black Men of Prince George's County. He's here to talk about the Alzheimer's impact on the Black community. We'll have more after the break.
I love you. I love the sweet potato pie you bring to every family reunion. I love how you're my morning alarm, even when I ask for 5 more minutes. I love how you say you can't wait to walk me down the aisle, even if my partner ends up being my cat. I can't imagine a Sunday show, night in, night out, celebration, or dinner without you. I can't imagine any tomorrow without you in it. So today I say, I love you. Get screened. Regular cancer screening saves lives. Tell someone you love to get screened today. Visit cancer.org/getscreened to learn more.
Even though we didn't grow up together, he's my favorite brother.
Hey, sis.
I'm the baby of the family, and he's the gentle giant.
What you know about poor Georgia?
Man, please, that's a classic.
You know when they say people are a rare breed? Yeah, he's that.
I'm sorry, I'll be back in a few hours.
Don't worry, Shug, you know I'm for you.
I know.
Go get the football.
That was my favorite memory. He was always for you. This is a true story of me, Bridget Floyd, and this guy, George Perry Floyd Jr., my big brother.
Well, CTV continues to celebrate Black history. Today, we want to take a look into Black health and talk about Alzheimer's. More than 21% of Black Americans ages 70 and older are living with Alzheimer's and are twice as likely as older whites to have the disease or another dementia. Joining us today is Walter Kirkland from 100 Black Men of Prince George's to talk about this horrible disease and you have a webinar that you are hosting.
We do, Patty. Good to see you again.
Great
also,
to see you
appreciate your press. We have a meeting tomorrow. We have a webinar tomorrow, and it's going to be in conjunction with the Alzheimer's Association, and we're excited about that from 7:30 to 9 o'clock.
So first, let's back up and talk a little bit about Alzheimer's. You're talking about a different effect, perhaps culturally, racially. Tell me about that.
Well, we have found it's debilitating in the African-American community, and I think over 50, Patty, specifically African Americans who we don't see our doctors as much, there appears to be some sort of issue as it relates to dementia and Alzheimer's. So we're trying to find a way to know your numbers. As I was talking to your producer earlier, it's critical to know your systolic and diastolic number to try to find a pathway to be healthy. We find if you have that, it slows down this process.
We did a news story on that earlier about those numbers. Explain what they are, how they work.
Yeah, the top number is you have the systolic is the top number, the diastolic's the bottom, and it talks about you have 120/80. Like I take my blood pressure every week to see if I'm in that parameter. You want to stay below a certain number to make sure you're healthy. If you're above that number, the heart basically works harder, which causes more constriction, which brings on more debilitating diseases and issues and health issues.
So basically we're talking high blood pressure, things like that.
High blood pressure. And the other thing about knowing your numbers, Patty, would be your PSA, you know, basically knowing all your sugar levels, and knowing that with your doctor on an annual basis is what in the African community we have not done a good job with, which causes a lot of issues.
Is this got something to do with not talking about it? You know, is there a need more to talk about health?
I think it's resources, not talking about it, being afraid to know the debilitating. Look at Dexter King, who just passed away. He's Martin Luther King's son. Of prostate cancer at 62 years old because he didn't go to the doctor. He didn't know his numbers. It's really just ignorance, to be honest, and resources.
How important is preventative medicine in this particular
I think it's
disease?
critical. I think you need to find a way to have a basis, especially over 50. There's so many things, Patty, that can go wrong in your body that if you don't make sure you monitor that, you could have a lot of issues as you get older. So I think prevention is the key. Vitamins, hydration. You and I talked about hydrations in the green room. Also exercise, flexibility, and just knowing your body, listening to your body. There's so many things in your body that can go wrong. It's all about a balance. If you have an infection in your ear, it could cause vertigo. I've had an issue with vertigo because I had some blockage in my earlobe because everything's a balance. Just knowing all those aggregate numbers as it relates to your heart rate, your blood pressure, your prostate, is critical in the African American community.
And since you mentioned hydration, how important is that for something like this?
I think it's critical. I think, you know, water, which, as you know, Patty, the body's about 60% of water. You got to have that to flush things out. And I literally mean that in terms of blood flow, flushing it out. If things get clotted is when you get the issues. And there's been some sort of research done that if you have vascular issues as it relates to blood pressure, it affects dementia and Alzheimer's over time if you have those constrictions. But that's why the water and hydration is so critical. I try to drink at least 2 gallons of water a day if I can.
Oh, you get a lot.
I try.
All right, so tell us about some of the pressures, some of the blockages that the African American community has felt in terms of progressing on learning about this issue.
I just think it's ignorance. I think that when I speak to my peer group and my age group, well, I don't need to go to the doctor, I'm fine. That's not the case. The actor in Black Panther, Patty, who died of 38 years old of colon cancer, that's an example of not getting, you know, proper education and going to see your doctor. Colon cancer is critical. Blood pressure, heart rates are critical. As we're talking about, Alzheimer's is critical. I think you got to find a way to understand your body, and then it's diet. A lot of it's been diet, Patty. A lot of it's portion control. I think in the African American community, as it relates to Thanksgiving and dinner, you eat until you go back 2 or 3 times. That's no longer a way to go.
You sleep, right?
Well, so now what I do is I eat until I'm full, and it's about the size of your palm of your hand. And that's what you're supposed to do on a regular basis, is monitor your diet, exercise, hydration, know your numbers, go to your doctor on an annual basis, and listen to your body, and also listen to your doctor.
Great advice, but then you're going to have people who the cost of going to the doctor. It's often, and you know, you find out that you have lab fees later. You might know your copay going in, but there's a lot of secretive numbers that don't come back until you're back home a month later or so.
I think that's why I say to your listeners and viewers out there is try to get educated as possible. Do your own homework. Listen to your body. Be your own doctor. The more educated you are when you see your doctor, the better the doctor will be able to give you cognitive good feedback. But if you're not knowledgeable, you're not going to get the same feedback. So you do the homework, you listen to your body. And the resource piece is we all have limited resources or more or less, but find a way to educate yourself on how am I doing? Am I 50 years old? And am I overweight? Am I in shape? You know, be critical. I take my blood pressure, Patty, every other day. I ran the Senior Olympics last year. I got 5th place in the country.
Congratulations.
Because I pride myself in looking in the mirror saying, how do I feel? That's what you need to do out there, is just to know your body. How do you feel, too? What's your balance? Do you have issues? Are you tired? Some of those things are very common. You should feel very energized in the morning. There's something your body's telling you that if you're tired.
Right. And congrats to you. That's quite a triumph.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Right. And I know you mentioned the webinar. We just want to wrap it up and tell everybody about it again. It takes place tomorrow, February 8th at 7:30 p.m. For more information, you can log on to 100 Prince George's CTV.org. And thank you so much for
Thank you,
joining
Patty.
us. Well, here is Simon Buggs with a preview of our sports page tonight.
Hey there, sports fans, and coming up in a bit, some highlights from the Fairmont Heights versus College Park Academy boys basketball team matchup that took place last night. Stay tuned.
Some say e-cigarettes aren't dangerous,
but science shows nicotine can harm teens' developing brains.
no matter how they're exposed.
Let's do an experiment to find out.
Here's a teen who won't be using e-cigarettes.
Now we need one willing to risk their brain development.
Anyone care to volunteer your kid?
Anyone?
Your kids are not an experiment. Protect them from e-cigarettes.
Okay, everybody, are you ready? Because it's time for your Wednesday sports page. Starting with some high school basketball news, the Fairmont Heights boys basketball team was back in action last night as the Hornets took on College Park Academy. Beginning with some first quarter action, the game was close a few minutes into the period, but the Hornets were able to pull away because of plays like small forward Zion McQueen taking the ball coast to coast for this layup, this made three-pointer by guard Jordan Blackman, as well as his sweet rejection by number 21, Carter Burwell. College Park Academy did make some nice plays in the period, like this steal that resulted in a layup for guard Elon Thomas and this three-point shot converted by number 12, John Elesenwagen. But the Phoenix trailed after the first quarter, 24-10. Moving on to the second quarter, points were hard to come by for the Phoenix, only scoring 7 in the period, and because of that, as well as Fairmont Heights continued to make shots like this and-one layup by guard Dominic Boston, a smooth turnaround jumper from forward David Priester, and this floater from guard Devontae Dyson, the Hornets' lead ballooned and they went into halftime up 42-17. And Fairmont Heights was able to hold on to their lead for the rest of the game and come out on top 77-43. CTV Sports caught up with Fairmont Heights head coach Jonathan Blackman after the game, and he gave his thoughts on what his team did well in the victory.
I think unselfish play. We moved the ball well. That's something we've been working on. We got a lot of people that can score the ball and can shoot, so just getting to the basket, making the extra pass helped out a lot.
Blackman also spoke on what he wants his team to work on as the playoffs approach.
Always boxing out defense. We made a couple of adjustments on defense lately that's really been showing good dividends for us. So, like I said, just boxing out defensively. Offensively, I never really worry about what we do on offensively.
Sticking with high school basketball news, Potomac took down Oxon Hill in a close game, 54-53. Friendly avoided back-to-back losses in their 59-50 victory over CMIT North. And finally, Largo blew out Central 73-40. Switching gears to college basketball, congratulations to point guard Jameer Young for reaching 1,000 points as a Terp last night during the team's matchup against Rutgers. Young became the 6th player in NCAA history to score 1,000 points at 2 different schools, with the other school being when Young was at the University of North Carolina at Charlotte. Young reached this milestone in just 57 games, which is the 3rd fastest in the program's history. Maryland did lose to the Scarlet Knights, though, 56-53. And they will take the court next versus Ohio State on Saturday. And wrapping up sports, the PGCC women's basketball team will be taking the court tonight. The Lady Owls will try and get their 11th win of the season against Anne Arundel Community College at 5 o'clock. And that is your Wednesday sports page. Simon Buggs, CTV Sports.
Thanks, Simon. And now we're going to get a quick check on our 3-day weather forecast. It'll be 31 and clear tonight. Tomorrow, 53 and sunny. And we are warming up this weekend with a high of 61 on Friday. Saturday, it'll be 63 and sunny with a 30% chance of rain. Looking forward to it. That wraps up CTV News. And join us again tomorrow at 4:30. Have a great night.